Let's look at how to calculate the perimeter of a circle.
The perimeter of a circle is called circumference. Another name for the perimeter of a circle is circumference. So anytime you hear calculate the circumference of a circle, it means calculate the perimeter of the circle. Now, perimeter of a circle is also equal to what? Circumference. So perimeter of a circle is the same as what? Circumference of a circle. Again, perimeter of a circle is the same as what? Circumference of a circle. Circumference is the distance round the outside of a circle. So the distance round the outside of a circle is what we call what? Circumference. The distance, that line of a circle, the distance round that circle, the distance round the outside of a circle is what we call circumference. Now, a circle has a special thing that we must recognize in it, and that thing is called radius. So anytime you want to calculate the circumference of a circle, you must look for the radius. For us to find the perimeter of a circle, we need to know this formula. So the formula for calculating the perimeter of a circle is 2 pi r or pi d. 2 pi r or pi d. Now, r stands for radius, d stands for diameter, and pi is 22 all over 7 or 3.142. I say that r is for what? Radius, d is diameter, pi is 22 all over 7 or 3.142. This value of pi, you must cram it, you must memorize it in your example, in your exams, or any calculation given to you by your teacher. They can ask you to use pi as 22 all over 7 or as 3.142. Anyone they ask you to use, that is the one you will use for your solving. Let's go to radius. What is radius? A radius is a straight line connecting the center of a circle to any point on the circumference. A radius is a straight line connecting the center, you must know that, the center of a circle to any point on the circumference. I have several circles here. This is the center of this circle. If I draw a line from here to the circumference, remember what circumference is. This circle, this is the circumference of the circle. This is circumference, this is circumference. This is also a circumference. So all these circular parts of this circle is circumference. This is circumference. This is also a circumference. This is circumference. So this circular part is the circumference of a circle. Now if I draw a straight line from the center of the circle to the circumference, this line is called radius. So any line from the center, note, the line must start from the center or start from the circumference and end at the center. So any line that runs from the circumference to the center of a circle is called radius. Again, what did I say? Any line that runs from the circumference of a circle to the center of a circle is called radius. So look at, this is radius. Are you getting what I'm saying? Now let's go to diameter. A diameter is a straight line segment that passes through the center of a circle and has its end point on the circumference. Now for diameter must start from the circumference and pass through the center and also end at the circumference, and it must be a straight line. So if you watch very well, my own is not a straight line because I am just drawing without ruler. If I want to draw diameter must be straight, and it must start from the circumference and pass through the center and end at the circumference. So this line is a diameter. Diameter, like I said before, it must start from the circumference and compulsorily must pass through the center, and also it must end at the other circumference. If I draw a line, look at this line from the circumference to the center. If I don't continue the line again, since this line runs from the circumference to the center, this particular line is not a diameter. Instead, it is a radius. Why? Because it only starts from the circumference and ends at the center. Okay, let's look at how to calculate the perimeter of special figures drawn from a circle, such as quadrant, arc from a quadrant, semicircle, and arc from a semicircle. Okay, the first one we have here is quadrant. Look at the shape we call quadrant. This is quadrant, and this thing is gotten from a circle. When you divide a circle into 4 equal parts, you will get this shape. So if I have a circle like this, so if I divide this circle into 4 equal parts, so one part of it is quadrant, which is what I have here. Okay, a quadrant is exactly 1/4 of a full circle, and the perimeter is gotten with this formula: pi d all over 4 plus d. The formula for calculating perimeter of a quadrant is what? Pi d all over 4 plus d. Now this d is diameter. So this is diameter of the quadrant. And if you don't have diameter, maybe in the example or in the problem you have radius, then you will now use this formula. So another formula you can use to calculate the perimeter of a quadrant is pi r all over 2 plus 2r is what? Pi r all over 2 plus 2r. So you have to memorize these two formulas. You have to memorize them, the two formulas for calculating the perimeter of a quadrant. Remember that perimeter is the sum of the outside boundaries of a shape. So this arrow plus this arrow is this 2r that we have here. Then this curved edge here is this pi arrow all over 2. Then we have example here. Calculate the perimeter of the figure below. So this figure is a quadrant, and from what we have here, r is 7 cm, because this is the center of the circle from which this quadrant was cut off from. Okay, so arrow is 7 cm, and we want to find the perimeter. So what is the formula for calculating the perimeter of a quadrant? The formula is pi r all over 2 plus 2r. Since we have radius, that is why I am using this formula. Now if I substitute, pi stands for what? 22 all over 7. Then times r. From this problem, r is what? 7. So I will say 7 all over 2. This 2. Then plus 2 times 7. So if I do that, I can cancel 7 here, cancel 7 here, so that 7 will go. Then 2 here is 1, 2 here is 11. Then I will now come down with 11 plus this 2 times 7 will give us 14, so that 14 plus 11 will now give you what? 1 plus 4 is 5, and 1 plus 1 is 2. So the perimeter is what? 25 cm. Let's look at that of arc of a quadrant. So how do we calculate the perimeter of arc of a quadrant. Now the arc of a quadrant is just the curved part of a quadrant, the curved part of a quadrant without the radius. So just like this quadrant, when we are considering only the curved part, we call it arc of a quadrant, which is what we have here. So the curved arced edge of a quadrant is the diagram that you have here, which is arc of a quadrant. And the formula for calculating the arc of a quadrant is pi d all over 4 or pi r all over 2. So any of this formula can go for calculating the perimeter of arc of a quadrant. So any of this formula can go. Now we have example here. Calculate the perimeter of the figure below. What we should do here for us to find the perimeter of this shape is to cut this diagram, this figure like this, so that we will now get
Something like a rectangle.
Look at it here. But I will not include this line because this line is not included, it is inside. So the only thing I need is 12 cm, which is from here to here. So from here to here is 12 cm, and here is 7 cm. Now from here to this place is 19 cm, but since we stop at this point when we were cutting, from here to here is the same as from here to here, which is also what? 12 cm. So here will be 12 cm. Okay, so let me now cut out this arc. So this curved part is just this side. From here, this one is this curve. This curve is this one. Then I have to add. I'm going to add this line back from here to this place. I want to add it back to this figure. From here to here, supposed to be 7 cm, because from here to here is 12 cm. Then 12 cm plus 7 will now give this 19. So since from here to here is 12, therefore from here to here will be 7. Since from here to here is 12 cm, from here to here will be 7 cm. So let me add it back again. So from here, stopping here is 12 cm. From here reaching here is 7 cm, which is the total length now is still that 19 cm we have there. So the whole of this length is 19 cm. So this is now the arc where I am having a problem. I am having problem on this arc because I don't know the length of this arc. Now for me to find the length of this arc, I will now use this formula, which is pi r all over 2. So this arc, let me call it arc. So arc is now, the arc is equal to pi r all over 2, which is equal to pi is 22 all over 7 times r. R is the radius. So how do we know the radius? Let's go back to this diagram. This shape from here to this place, this side is a quadrant, and this line is the radius of this quadrant. This line is the radius of the quadrant, which is 7 cm. And how do you know it is radius? Because this line from here to here is the same as this line from here to here, because radius are always equal. So the radius of this quadrant is 7. So my r is now 7. Then I have to divide it by these 2. Divided by 2. Okay, let's cancel out. 7 here is 1, 7 here is 1, 2 here is 1, 2 here is 11. So that my arc is 11 cm. I have gotten the value of my arc. So this arc is now 11 cm. Now for us to find the perimeter is the sum of the edges of a shape. So we are going to add 7 plus from here to here is 12 plus this arc which is 11 cm plus from here to here which is 19 cm. Okay, so let's calculate it. Is 49. So the perimeter is 49 cm. So you see how I use this formula to calculate the length of this arc so that I can now calculate the perimeter of this figure. Another way I can calculate the perimeter of this figure is by starting from this side. I will add all these sides. So I will say since perimeter is the sum of all the sides of a shape, I will start from here. This is a straight line from here to here is 12 cm. So I will say perimeter is equal to 12, which is from here to here. Then from here to here is 7 plus from here to here is 19 plus this curved edge, and this curved edge is arc of a quadrant. Look at it. This curved edge is the same thing as this one, which is arc of a quadrant. So I will just write here plus arc, and I don't know the value of this arc because in this problem there is no value here. So I will just call from here to here this curved part, I will call it arc. I will now ask myself, but what is the value of the arc? So for the formula for calculating this arc, since this arc is arc of a quadrant, the formula for calculating the length of arc of a quadrant is pi r all over 2. Now how do I get my r? Since this is arc of a quadrant, if I trace this line down to this place, this line becomes the radius of this very arc. Okay, so and from here to here is the same as from here to here. So this is 7. That means that the radius of this arc, the radius is 7 cm. So I will use 7 in place of r. Now what is the value of pi? Pi is 22 all over 7, 10 times. Our r is what? From what we did here, our r is 7. Then all over 2, these 2. Then if I cancel out, cancel, here will be 11. Our arc will now become 11. So I will now plug this 11 into this place. That is, I will replace this arc with 11. Then I will now have 12 plus 7 plus 19 plus 11, which is the same thing I did here. Then I will now get, if you sum it, you get 49 cm. So let's look at semicircle. Semicircle is also called half circle. So semicircle is half of a circle. A semicircle is half of a circle. So look at what we call semicircle, something like this. Something like your protractor. Yes, protractor, the shape of a protractor is a semicircle. And the formula for calculating the perimeter of a semicircle is pi r plus 2r, or d plus pi d all over 2. So here r is the radius, but over here d is diameter. So it depends on what you are given in your example or the problem given to you. So diameter, in this place, diameter is this line. So this is diameter. So this is a semicircle. We have example here. Calculate the perimeter of the figure below. So this figure is a semicircle whose diameter is 14. Now, since we are looking for the perimeter, we will say perimeter of a semicircle is what? Pi d all over 2 plus d. Since we have diameter, so the best formula to use is this one. Pi d all over 2 plus d is the same as d plus pi d all over 2. They are the same thing. Okay, now pi is 22 all over 7, then times the diameter I have here is 14. Our diameter is 14, so I will say times 14, then all over 2, this 2, all over 2, then plus 14 again. This diameter is 14. Okay, let me cancel out. 7 here is 1, 7 here is 2. 2 here is 1, 2 here is 11. 11 times 2 is 22. Then plus this 14. 2 plus 4 is 6. And 2 plus 1 is 3 cm. Okay, so the perimeter of this very semicircle is what? 36 cm.